Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to take a look at what might have happened if Mace Windu had been the one to arrest Count Dooku during the Battle of Geonosis, in the arena. Now, in Attack of the Clones, Mace Windu leads a Jedi assault team of 212 strong Jedi to Geonosis in an attempt to rescue Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Padme Amidala from execution. Now, just in the last moment, Mace reveals himself by holding Count Dooku, Jango Fett, and the Separatist Council at lightsaber point. That is, until he's forced into the arena by a squad of super battle droids and Jango Fett's flamethrower. Now, this moment had the potential to end the Clone Wars before it began, and that is what this video is going to take a look at. We're going to set up this story with two major alterations to this moment. First, Jango Fett will not be present on the balcony when Mace Windu reveals himself to Dooku. Second, without Jango's presence, Mace will be free to have a swifter, more aggressive response to the squad of super battle droids. Now, our story picks up as the droidicas roll onto the arena floor and surround the three prisoners, who sit on the back of the very reek that should have killed at least one of them. In this moment, Jango Fett glances over at Dooku. Dooku merely returned a subtle nod as if giving Jango permission. Fett left from their balcony while his jetpack fired up and carried him down to the circle of droidicas. Nute Gunray could hardly contain his excitement as he could visualize the impending doom of Senator Amidala. Victory at last. But before Dooku could order Fett and the droidicas to finish the job, a purple lightsaber ignited underneath his chin. Of course, he had sensed the approach of Master Windu, but Dooku let him approach because he wanted to see his old friend's plan. He was impossibly outnumbered, so what could he do in this moment? Mace Windu stared at Dooku with fierce determination. This party's over. Dooku eyed the purple lightsaber as if it were no more than a blemish on his fine Sarandan cloak. Brave, but foolish, my old friend. Loud footsteps could be heard as a squad of super battle droids marched down the hallway to deal with the intruder Jedi. As they began to fire, Mace blocked the initial wave of blaster bolts with a quick flourish of his saber. Finding a gap in rounds of blaster fire, Mace used the force to push the entire squad of super battle droids into the tunnel hall. Seeing the squad finished, Mace quickly turned and swung his lightsaber back toward Count Dooku. This time, it was met by the crimson blade of Dooku's lightsaber. A malicious smile spread across Dooku's face as the former friends engaged in a close-quarters duel on the arena balcony. As the duel began, Nute Gunray and the rest of the council slipped away. This was no place for them to be. Dooku and Mace fought furiously as the other Jedi began to ignite their lightsabers around the arena. The battle was in full swing. The arena battle would play out much like it did in the original timeline, only this time Mace Windu was occupied by a duel that could stop the war before it began, rather than jumping into the arena like the rest of the Jedi. On the ground, Jango Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi were granted a rematch of their fight on Kamino. Only this time, Obi-Wan was able to gain the upper hand and knock Jango unconscious by using the Force to send Jango into the very pillar he was shackled to earlier. Dooku taunted Mace with his precise dueling technique. However, the determination in Mace's eyes told Dooku that his former Jedi friend was not going to stop until he was incapacitated. Mace was a master and an innovator of the Vapad variation of the 7th form of lightsaber combat. Dooku was not ignorant of the danger that Mace was to him. As more and more battle droids poured onto the battlefield, the Jedi were slowly backed into the center of the arena where they were vulnerable. But Dooku and Mace were oblivious to the ground battle, as theirs was the fight that truly mattered. Mace knew that if he could capture Dooku, the war could be won before it even began. Mace could see clearly this was a shatter point. As more and more Jedi fell in battle, Mace began to gain the upper hand on Dooku. The Master of Form 2 was formidable, but but Mace's Vapad soon gained the upper hand. As if the Force had orchestrated the moment, Mace sliced Dooku's saber hand free and knocked him to the ground right as a fleet of Republic gunships dropped into the arena, thus introducing the Grand Army of the Republic, the Clone Troopers. Mace Windu had won, the Jedi had survived, and the war would be over before it even began. As the clones mopped up the rest of the battle droids and rescued the surviving Jedi, Mace Windu, Yoda, and a few other Jedi apprehended Count Dooku and escorted him back to the Venator-class destroyer that was waiting above Geonosis. The first and only battle of Geonosis would end with a decisive Republic victory as the clones were exceptional in combat. Alright everyone, that'll do it for part 1 of this fan fiction. I have part 2 pretty much ready to go, but I want to hear feedback from you guys. How do you think this will end? Obviously things change quite a bit with Geonosis being such a decisive victory and Dooku being captured especially. Do you think that the Jedi can get the information they need from Dooku? How will this change? Will this expedite Palpatine's plans? What will this mean for Anakin even? Will this be too soon for the Jedi to close in on Palpatine, or is there still a chance that Palpatine's plan can fall into place? If you remember, part of why Order 66 was so successful is that the war drug on for several years, and through that time there was more political disruption, and even the Jedi and clones formed relationships that ultimately the Jedi learned to trust the clones, so they were caught off guard when Order 66 went off and their clones suddenly turned on them. If things were to happen so soon, would that have the same effect? So come back for part 2 as we figure out what Palpatine is going to do now that Dooku has been captured by the Jedi so early on in his war. If you haven't already, leave a like for the video, and I am super excited to be back and giving you some more fan fictions in 2023. I hope you have a happy new year, and I will see you in the next video.